Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at THORChain. Now, I do want to say THORChain is the cryptocurrency that I've been the most wrong about on this channel. And that's because THORChain has just been so consistently bullish that all of my skepticism and pessimism that I would look at with an altcoin, guilty until proven innocent for me in the crypto space, THORChain has proven itself innocent because it has just rallied basically for months now. And even when it went up to $2, I was like, there's no way it can break above this. And now recently it's gone up to basically just below $7, which is crazy. So for a change of pace, I'm going to be very positive about an altcoin, and I'm not really going to point out too many negatives. We're going to have a look at a few, but overall it's just going to be bullish, and it'll be a question of how far up is THORChain going to go, instead of, the usual how far down can X altcoin go. So again, getting straight into it, I see I've got a lot of colors here, and arrows. These are, well, we'll get into these in a second, but this line, these two support and resistance here, these are just the bull run. And we can see this went on for THORChain. Once we put in a low here, it went on for about, we'll say 700 days. And then of course we had our sort of bear market breakdown here, and then from the same point on to sort of where we've just recently broken out, it was about 750 days. So give or take 50-50. THORChain went up for 2 years. THORChain went down for 2 years, give or take, so far. We've seen here, this big, huge pump outbreak is very similar, very, very similar to this move here. And this is what we're going to be focusing the video on today. It's basically going to be comparing this pump to this pump and to see what happened afterwards. Now we can see that basically what did happen afterwards was still bullish. We had a few pullbacks, but that's to be expected, and it ultimately went on to, this is something amazing that I couldn't even believe either. If you measure THORChain from its low to its high, it's a 250,000% move. If you'd have bought THORChain here, if you'd have put $10 in here, you'd have over 2 million if you sold over here. That just blows my mind. The rational part of my brain cannot comprehend that. But again, it just shows how amazing Rune has performed in the past. And maybe when I saw this first bullish movement, I shouldn't have been so pessimistic and should have instead looked back at history and seen how amazing the THORChain has performed in the past. But anyway, getting back into the past with, a new outlook, a new look on the coin, we can see that we had this pump here that does look, like I said, very similar to this. And if we measure this here with this blue here, we see this blue arrow up. If we line these up from the lows to the high, and I'm taking this high here as the current high for Rune, although it could keep going, who knows at this point, we get about a 1400% move here. And here we get about a 700% move here. So roughly, funnily enough, half of what we saw last time. So again, it goes back to, in previous, basically every video, I've talked about diminishing volatility, diminishing returns in the crypto space. As the crypto gets older and more liquidity is put into the coin, it's unable to move as much as it would have, up and down, just because there's more money in it. So people have to pay more money to raise the price. Again, I've said it 100 times, so I'm just going to assume you know at this point. So again, diminishing returns is what we can maybe expect. And if we apply that to all these other arrows, which I have done, that are not time-based, but you could also make an argument for applying them to time-based ones. We see here this red one is how far Rune dropped from its high. So from its high, it dropped down 68% to its low, which was here, after the high. So the lower high was here, 68% down. If we go to here, that equates to a 34% move down, which would put us at about $4.50. Most people are in profit if they've bought, any time this or last year, really. Or another way of looking at it is that Rune ultimately rallied up about 380%. Last cycle, it rallied up 380% from its low to its second low. And if we were to do that here, and then of course cut it in half because of the diminishing returns, that's about 190% of a move up. We would see that would put us at somewhere around $2.20, which is interesting. But in a sense, the bullish part of me really wants to say this one, that it only goes down here. And the reasoning for that is if we're taking sort of this low here and we're taking this range here that we saw before, this $2 range here, to be what we have here, we see that Rune didn't come back down to this level. Previous cycle, it didn't come back down. It stayed above. So to assume that it's this green one, we would be coming back to these same levels at this $2 range. But if we assume it's this one, we stay above this $2 range, and that does look more accurate to sort of what we saw back here. If I actually take a quick, if we measure how far Rune moved up from, say, here to here, about 100% move, if we take that from here to the bottom of the red, we can see that does actually add up to about 100% move, probably less, probably somewhere around like 115% move. So honestly, I would be more inclined to believe that we follow this red path and that maybe we come down only to around the $4 mark, probably is where I would price in Rune going to. Maybe we wick down below. Again, cycles are always different, but got my bullish cap on now for Rune, and I do think that I don't think we'll go far below $4 if we do, personally. Unless, of course, this is the theory that turns out to be true, but I'm honestly more leaning towards this guy. Other two factors that I want to look at that are variables, or, well, sort of variables, is these two time indicators, so these time-based rallies. And here we can see that from the low to the second low to the higher low, it took 172 days. And if we take a look here and put that same graph here, we can see 172 days almost gone by. We have about, I want to say 2 weeks left. Yeah, 2 weeks, 5th of December, until we sort of run out of time for this prophecy to come true. And if we do want this prophecy to come, or if we think this prophecy will come true, we have to assume that we do not have this second, this sort of double top that we saw here. We have this pump, and then we had a second top here. We have to assume that we just have this pump and then come straight down. And also, if we take a look at Rune last time, I'll zoom in here so I can be as accurate as possible. We can see that once Rune hit its high of, we'll say here, it took 30 days, more or less, bang on, a month, for Rune to put in its low. We would have to assume that it would have to take place in a much shorter period of time as well. So from its peak in 30 days, we can see that we go well over that sort of 172 day time frame. So again, that sort of pushes me away from that theory. Another one that I have up here is probably the more likely, is that it's about 2 months before the halving that we put in a low. And this kind of correlates with Bitcoin and a lot of other altcoins in the space. And I know like this was to do with COVID, and I'm not going to get into whether COVID caused this big sell-off. I mean, COVID definitely caused this immediate drop here, but I would personally believe that this was coming anyway. We've seen it in other cycles. It was kind of, it was on, I was always expecting price to come down. Maybe not this much, but anyway, we're sort of getting away from the point here. We can see that it was 2 months before the halving that THORChain put in a higher low. So if we were going to follow this theory or this hypothesis this time, we'd see that we have actually much longer of a time frame to sort of play out in a similar way like before. And if we take from this high to, say, the 2 months we had beforehand, we still have 3 months to have this pullback, this double top, and then a sell-off. And if we check how much time we have left until here, from this top, we have just about 3 months, a little bit over. So again, these are the two that I would be leaning towards, just because they play out most accurately compared to last cycle and the variables surrounding them. This sort of 34% of a drop down. Again, that's assuming if we have like half the volatility that we've seen here. This is all based off this range, this low to high. This is half of what we've had so far. And this is also assuming that this is the high. So there's a lot of variables here and a lot of different factors that are dependent of other factors. So again, this is flimsy in a way, but it's just, I feel like it's very interesting to see. And it will be interesting to see if it plays out. It will be very interesting, because if it does, we can then maybe more accurately price in what Rune is able to do next time we're here in another 4 years. We'll be able to say with more certainty which way Rune went or what way it could go, because we have potentially 2 ways that played out basically the same. We had a rally up of 1,400%, which turned into 800% basically, and then we went down 70%, so we chopped that in half and we went down 34%. And then we had our double top. Maybe we don't get the double top, but we definitely have enough time to have the double top and to put in this low, all before the halving, all 2 months before the halving. So again, a lot of take one big handful of salt sort of following this graph, but it is very interesting. I do think Rune is very bullish at the moment though. I'm amazed. I'm just amazed. Like, I don't have a bad word against it, to be honest with you. It's just pumped. It's just pumped, which is crazy. And we'll have a look at it on a Bitcoin pair as well. But before I do, I first want to thank today's sponsor, FairDesk. Now, FairDesk is an exchange, and if you're interested, you can click the link in the description for a 5% deposit bonus. And with no KYC required, you can start trading straight away. Now, Rune again on its Bitcoin pair, very bullish. We can see even during the bull run, Rune didn't actually really drop too much. If we go here, we can see, oh well, actually, it did drop a lot, but it doesn't look like it dropped much compared to the absolutely rocket fuel gains that it had in the sort of leading up to the previous bull run. So this drop here kind of, you know, it was nothing compared to where it came from. Anyone who bought before June of 2020 is still was in profit basically for the rest of Rune's history if they held. I'm sure there aren't many people that are holding from this point, but you know, it's possible. Again, we've got our halving sort of lines here, and these sort of orange support and resistance lines. Funnily enough, I cloned this one here. This line here is an exact clone of this one, and we can see that, assuming again that this pump is roughly equivalent to this pump, we can see that it actually fits the bill perfectly with how it bounces off the support line. So it is very interesting. It is very interesting. And if we're going to assume that it's playing out a similar way again, we can sort of expect Rune to trade sideways until it gets close to this sort of support line again, and whether it bounces off the support line or if it bounces off because of the halving, who knows. But you know, Rune seems pretty bullish on Bitcoin right now, and could look like a good hedge for the next few months. It looks a bit like Link, to be honest with you, but even better, because Link peaked out basically December of 2020 on its Bitcoin pair, and Bitcoin sort of overtook it during the bull run, which was strange. And again, watch our video for that, because it's very interesting on whether Link is a good hedge during the halving year against Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is usually the best thing to hold during these sort of turbulent times if you want exposure to crypto. But Link sort of showed that maybe Link was better. Again, it kind of depends how it plays out, but it was showing very much that it might play out the same way. And funnily enough, Thor is showing a very similar thing, where it's rallied up and it's just kept rallying during the halving year, not just the bull run year. And even during the bull run year, Thor still went like crazy. But we can see the moves that it put in, like a 850% move in the halving year, and then a 1400% move in the bull run year on its Bitcoin pair, which is crazy. And Bitcoin was crazy last cycle. You know, it's just kind of like a lot of altcoins, it did extremely well, but Rune was obviously one of those coins. Again, I can't get over this figure of, like, you know, even if you bought somewhere around here, if you're like, that's not even too early, it is quite early really, but you know, before 2020, basically, if you bought Rune before 2020 and you sold somewhere near the top, a 10,000% return over the space of a year and a half. I mean, that's crazy. Is that not crazy? I think that's crazy. And I have to try not to let myself get too excited over these coins, but it is just amazing to see how much it rallied. Like a 20,000% move. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I'm not even going to get into it, but the fact that it went from, you know, less than a cent to $20 basically in the space of 2 years, again, yeah, very bullish. Now, I'm not expecting, to be honest with you, I'm not expecting returns like this bull run. I'm just not. And I know I said I'd be bullish this video, but, you know, rationally, I can't see that happening. But again, if you wanted to go around the diminishing returns route, we can see that from here, Rune topped out at at 17,000% of a move up. If we say, okay, we'll go 8,000% of a move up, 8,000% of a move up, that would put Rune at just below $600 from its current peak here. I don't think, personally, Rune is able to do that. I think, I haven't done the maths on it, but if Rune was to do that, I feel like it would be more valuable than Bitcoin. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be. Maybe it would put it up, you know, there with Ethereum and XRP in that top 5 range. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. But I'm just, you know, nothing against the coin, honestly. Nothing against the coin. It's crazy. Very bullish. So I've kind of said everything I want to say. If you liked the video, let me know down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button and the like button as well. Really helps out the channel. Take care, guys, and peace.